Jim Farley Jr. of Ford was recently asked if Ford would be able to compete with Tesla's gross margin of 20% for their electric vehicle line. Jim said that they are basically in the learning process at Ford of making EVs and do not expect their electric vehicle line to be profitable until 2026. The software is apparently where the real money will be made, rather than in the manufacturing of automobiles. The software that Mr. Farley is referring to is called Blue Cruise. Consumer Reports recently gave Ford a much higher score compared to Tesla when it came to hands-free software in their automobiles. I think that this is an erroneous assessment because it uses parameters in the study such as keeping the driver engaged and unresponsive driver. But rather than giving a higher score for less engagement, they gave a lower score, meaning that because Tesla's software allows for the driver to not touch the wheel for longer periods of time, they get a lower score when it comes to hands-free software. Does that make any sense to anyone besides maybe the folks over at Consumer Reports, whose motives I seriously question at this point? Ford is learning a lot, but they don't know exactly how to make an EV profitably. The old talent was in the petrol engine business, so now they need newer talent. They are late to the show when it comes to electric vehicles. Everything seems to be against them. So why would someone invest now? I believe it is because people see Ford as a stable legacy automaker. They think Ford knows how to make cars, so they should be able to easily pivot to electric vehicles. This is a classic example of a value trap. A legacy company is being forced to pivot hard, so hard that they are having to go from a product that has been around for about a century to essentially a brand new technology, all within a few years. And compete with a company like Tesla that has a large positive gross margin on their electric vehicle line and a decade head start. I believe that by the time Ford can produce an electric vehicle that makes them a profit, Tesla will have rolled out a sub $20,000 commuter car that can do 80 to 100 miles in range, and it will simply undercut the entire electric vehicle market. Therefore, Tesla will always be one step ahead of its competition. Ford is not the only company that's in hot water. Lucid and Rivian do not make money on their electric vehicles either, not even on the top line. In fact, they lose more than $3 for every dollar that they take in, when just accounting for revenue less cost of goods sold. Not even accounting for any of their operating expenditures, such as, paying for the employees and the lease payments on their plant, property, and equipment. Some of Ford bulls mentioned that the F-150 Lightning sold very strongly, but what they're leaving out is that Ford wanted to produce 50,000 of them a month, and they could only crank out about 12,000, and that they lose money on each vehicle that's sold. Not only that, but Ford is a brand that is supposed to be marketed towards working class, blue-collar folks. Yet the average price of a Ford electric vehicle is more than the average price of a Tesla, which many consider to be a luxury brand for electric vehicles. So the average price of a Ford EV is higher than the average price of a Tesla EV, yet Tesla makes a 20% gross profit and Ford loses money on each EV. To me, that says that even when Ford eventually figures out how to make a profit from their electric vehicle line, Tesla could simply lower their margins and dominate market share. Ford is going to have to continue to ramp up their electric vehicle line each year as regulations will continue to move towards banning of gas vehicles. Ford will either have to figure out how to become profitable or continue to lose more and more money each year as the number of cars that they produce that are electric continues to increase. I personally don't see the Ford electric vehicle line becoming profitable by 2026. And even if they did become profitable, like I said earlier, Tesla could simply crush them by lowering prices or making more innovative products since they have tech that is much further ahead. It seems to me that unless things change drastically over at Ford, Lucid, and Rivian, they will all be filing for bankruptcy in the next few years. This may be one of the rare times where one of the most innovative growth companies is also the safest in the market segment and a better value. Again, because of regulations, market demand, Ford being slow to react, and Tesla being quicker and ahead of the curve. All these conditions come together to create the perfect environment for Tesla to dominate the entire automotive industry for the foreseeable future. I think that their stock being priced currently around $200 seems to be a very good value. What do you guys think?